Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025. I'd like to give a shout out to one of the Pi moderators that goes by the name of Josephebe042. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In the past, I've given the Pi moderators a hard time by painting them all with the same brush. So I'm making it a point to give shout outs to Pi moderators that go above and beyond to help Pi users. And Josephebe042 is one of them. They really try to help people, and we appreciate it. Today we'll be talking about a Crypto Times article that highlights the dangers of influencers that have access to crypto media. But first, the metrics. The circulating supply is 7.18 billion Pi, with 15 million Pi migrated in the last 24 hours. This represented 66,989 user accounts. There is 25.3 million Pi in the Pi migration wallet, with migrated unlocked rewards at 1.98 billion Pi and 6.6 million Pi unlocked in the last 24 hours and now free to be traded on the open market. Looking at the price action, the Pi coin is currently trading at 70 cents, which is down 2.25% from this time yesterday. The market cap is at $5.8 billion, and the daily trading volume is $225.73, which is down 32.67% from this time yesterday. When there is a big drop or big gain, it tends to happen at around the 6 a.m. mark. And my guess is that coincides with the opening of certain markets. But it's interesting that it tends to happen right around that time. This article by Crypto Times just came out, and I wanted to share it with you because it's very germane to the topic of yesterday's video about the dangers of misinformation and the purveyors of that information's having access to mainstream crypto media. This headline reads, Pi Network faces rug pull allegations. What's the reason? While the Pi Network was once seen as a promising cryptocurrency initiative, its core team is now being accused of initiating a rug pull. Dr. Altcoin, a crypto analyst, accused the Pi core team on X of deceiving the community and taking advantage of a deliberate price increase plan. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen some of these posts, and we talked about this yesterday. Dr. Altcoin's shocking statement focuses on what the team did in the lead up to the Consensus 2025 event. The analyst claims that the announcement of the Pi ecosystem created by the Pi core team caused the price of Pi coin to rise from 40 cents to $1.60. The community, excited about the upcoming mainnet and 100 well-developed dApps, was led to think the project was just one step away from a breakthrough. Now, a couple of things I want to point out here. The immediate time frame leading up to Consensus 2025 did not see the Pi coin price starting at 40 cents. That actually happened quite a while before and had been recovering since then. It did jump to a 160. That was largely due to the teaser of the announcement that came out on March 14th. Whether that was orchestrated to have this exact effect is unknown. These types of tactics have been deployed in the past, not just by the Pi core team, but pretty much any crypto project that wants to build hype for a specific event or purpose. And we're going to talk about the dApp situation because this is something that keeps coming up, and I just want to put this into a little better perspective, so bear with me. However, Dr. Altcoin explains that the important transactions were taking place outside the public view. The Pi core team is said to have sold tens or even hundreds of millions of Pi tokens when the price increased sharply. The pioneers, the members of the Pi community, were still distracted by new announcements and pledges of future progress. While many hoped for a major announcement, the update on May 14th was just about a new funding initiative with no significant milestones reached in the mainnet or dApps. Dr. Altcoin concluded that the community was disappointed and the price of Pi coin started to fall sharply. Currently, the coin is valued at about 80 cents and it may soon revert to its original value of 40 cents. So this is an interesting statement. It says it may soon revert to its original value of 40 cents. Maybe. It may do just about anything. Who knows? The fact that the Pi Core team is believed to hold around 89% of the tokens has made people worry about centralization. Hence, many fear that there may be another Terra Luna collapse, given that centralized power can once again result in big sell-offs, which could harm people who hold smaller stakes. Dr. Altcoin says that since the team didn't distribute all the e-coins as promised, they defrauded users and pocketed the extra money for their use. Many of the current and former officials who promoted the project now feel duped by what they have actually seen. If the claims are confirmed, early users of Pi could feel greatly disappointed and wonder whether what Pi promised was ever planned to be delivered. Let's dissect this statement. Many of the current and former officials. What officials? There were only a handful of officials having anything to do with Pi, and that's the Pi Core team and the Pi founders. They're not talking about anything. I haven't heard anything about them saying that they feel duped. The only person that I heard publicly that says they feel duped is Dr. Altcoin. And as I said, I was mad. But I wasn't mad by the announcement. I was mad because it did not address any of our existing problems. And I thought, and I hoped that they would throw us a bone and give us something that benefits us now, rather than just announce the fact that, hey, by the way, we're going to be investing in these companies to help develop high-value apps. So there's a lot of spin in this article, and it's all negative, or mostly negative, and it's stemming from one person, Dr. Altcoin. And as you can see, he's got the ear of crypto media, and that is dangerous because nothing of what he said has been proven. And then he follows up with a statement saying that PiScan.io may have an agreement not to share that information. I think that's a very convenient hedge because all of that information is on the blockchain. To be honest with you, crypto founders don't typically sell their coin on the markets because that has an immediate impact that they may not want and probably don't. This is normally handled. The sale of large amounts of crypto by crypto teams and founders is usually done via over-the-counter transactions that you don't see on the markets. Now, he was perfectly fine when he put out statements claiming that the Pi Core team was buying Pi to maintain the price at a stable value, which I disagreed with because A, there was no proof that the Pi Core team was actually doing it, even though I reported previously the activity does sort of suggest it, but again, it's nothing definitive. My statement was that I didn't see that as a good thing. That's price manipulation by the Pi Core team. What they did leading up to May 14th amounts to the same thing. But it doesn't matter what their intentions were. They had to know that announcing it ahead would cause that kind of hype and likely cause the price to rise, which conveniently benefits them right around a time where they are announcing an investment that requires the liquidation of Pi. Very convenient. And I don't fault Dr. Altcoin for being skeptical about that, but it's not necessarily like wrong or bad. It's just kind of shady, I think. So let's talk about dApps. There's a lot of talk about the quote unquote promised dApps. Nothing was ever promised with regards to dApps. The 100 dApps was one of the conditions set forth by the Pi network for Open Mainnet. And it was also part of the reason it was delayed because the apps just weren't coming. Now, and I've heard comments about the Pi core team promised these 100 apps. Other than a talking point, what do you care? Did you plan on using all of these apps? Half of these apps, to be honest with you, are rather trivial, amateurish, and I mean no disrespect to the people who made these apps, but it's a fact. These are not the kind of high quality apps that you want to see running on a crypto blockchain. But there was no reason to expect any different. The Pi core team never promised them because they're not the ones writing these apps, and they never said they would. In fact, they said quite clearly that they wouldn't be. Instead, they would be providing tools and support for the community to write these apps. And they did. We had hackathons, we had bounty programs, we had the Brainstorm app where users can vote on applications, and these apps were written. And quite a lot of them were already on the ecosystem. They don't have a lot of use because, like I said, a lot of them aren't very good. A lot of them are very focused on particular areas, particular regions of the world, which don't appeal to people elsewhere. And that's fine. But really what this is a talking point. It's being used to cast doubt about the project. There aren't 100 apps in the ecosystem right now, but yet Dr. Kokolis announced that they had achieved the 100 app milestone. And maybe that's true. I can't really say because I know a lot of apps are currently still waiting approval. So yeah, technically these apps may exist, but they're not available yet. And I know that at least some of them are actually really good, and I anticipate them coming. For example, PiDAO Swap. When that app hits, it's going to be a big deal. But there are a lot of apps still waiting to be approved. Whether they hit the 100 apps or not, who knows? I don't know. But it is not the big talking point that people are trying to make it out to be because it was never promised by the Pi core team. This was a community goal, and it was the community that had to deliver. And according to the Pi core team, they did. They're just not all out yet. And maybe, the fact that they're not all out yet is what has people all worked up. But again, I still think that is just people looking for reasons to distrust the project. Maybe they release these tomorrow and the majority of the community won't use them. So is it enough to just say that they're out there? Not to me, but apparently this is important to other people. There are big voices out there saying negative things that is hurting the Pi network. And maybe at this point, they don't care that they're hurting the Pi network or the fact that they are spreading fear and uncertainty among the community. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just here to provide a counter point of view to try to soften the impact of these largely unsubstantiated negative claims. That's all I've got for today. If anything breaks, I'll be back here to let you know. But until then, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you. Pi to the moon. Peace.